Hello guys, in this session we will learn about processor management. As the name suggests, the processor management means managing the process or processor, that is the CPU. Therefore, this very function is also termed as CPU scheduling. Multiprogramming is a way of functioning in which CPU may be shared among a number of active programs which are present in the memory at the same time. While CPU is executing a job, it has to wait for the job. That is, if the job requires certain I/O operations, the CPU waits for the I/O operation to get over, and that wait time is called CPU's idle time. In place of making CPU sit idle, another job takes over the use of CPU, therefore increasing the efficiency and reducing the CPU idle time. The benefits of multiprogramming are as follows: increased CPU utilization, and second is higher total job throughput. Throughput is an important measure of system performance. It is calculated as the total number of jobs completed upon total time taken to complete the jobs. Another important factor that influences throughput is priority assigned to different jobs, that is, job scheduling. Job scheduling not only assigns priority to jobs but also admits new jobs for processing at appropriate times. Before we start with the job scheduling techniques, let us first understand about basic terminologies. A program is a set of instructions submitted to computer, whereas a process is a program in execution. Job and process are two terms which are almost used interchangeably. A process is a program in execution. During execution, the process changes its state. The state of a process is defined by its current activity. A process can have three states: new, active, waiting, or halted. Many factors which scheduling technique should be used in order to have the best possible results. The criteria are as follows. First is CPU utilization. There should be maximum possible CPU utilization. Second comes turnaround time. It is the total time taken to complete a job. There should be minimum possible turnaround time. Thirdly comes waiting time. Waiting time should be minimum. Then comes response time. It is the time taken to give the first response to a job. System should give fastest response time. Next comes throughput. Throughput should always be maximum as much as possible. Next comes CPU burst time, the time required by the job to execute its continuous executable part. Considering all these factors, the scheduling technique is chosen. There are two types of scheduling techniques. First is non-preemptive scheduling and second is preemptive scheduling. Non-preemptive scheduling. In this type of scheduling, a scheduled job always completes before another scheduling decision is made. Therefore, finishing order of the jobs is also the same as their scheduling order. The scheduling techniques which use non-preemptive scheduling are first come first served scheduling, also known as FCFS, then shortest job next scheduling, also known as SJN, and thirdly, deadline scheduling. First come first served scheduling. This is the simplest scheduling technique which is managed by FIFO. First in, first out. That is, the process which requests the CPU first is allocated the CPU first. A queue is maintained called ready queue in which all the processes that want CPU time are entered. The CPU executes the job in the ready queue one by one. Batch processing is one obvious example of FCFS scheduling in which all jobs in the batch are executed one by one. But turnaround time for the first job in the batch is the best, and for the very last job is the worst. Next comes shortest job next scheduling. In SGN scheduling, whenever a new job is to be admitted, the shortest of the arrived jobs is selected and given the CPU time. Throughput remains the same as in FCFS scheduling, but waiting time improves. SGN associates with each job the length of its next CPU burst. CPU burst is the CPU time required by a job to execute its continuous executable part. Always remember it. Next comes deadline scheduling. In deadline scheduling, the job with the earliest deadline is selected for scheduling. Deadline of a job is the time limit within which a job must be over. If a job overshoots its deadline, then it is said to be deadline overrun. Deadline overrun is calculated as K equals to C minus D, where K is deadline overrun, C is job completion time, and D is deadline for a job. Erratic behavior might result if reliable deadline data is not available. Next comes preemptive scheduling. In contrast to non-preemptive scheduling, a scheduling decision can be made even while the job is executing, whereas in non-preemptive scheduling, a scheduling decision is made only after job completes its execution. Therefore, preemptive scheduling may force a job in execution to release the processor so that execution of some another job can be undertaken in order to improve throughput considerably. The techniques which use preemptive scheduling are round robin scheduling and second is response ratio scheduling. Round robin scheduling or RR scheduling is aimed at giving all programs equal opportunity to make progress. It is implemented by ensuring that no program gets a second opportunity to execute unless all other programs have had at least one opportunity. A small unit of time, also called a time quantum or time slice, is defined. A ready queue, a queue waiting of programs waiting for CPU time, is treated as a circular queue. The programs in the ready queue are processed for the defined time slice one by one. Next comes response ratio scheduling. Response ratio scheduling is calculated as the ratio of elapsed time upon execution time received. The job with highest response ratio is preferred over others. When a short job arrives, its response ratio is high, so it is scheduled for execution immediately. A longer job would achieve high enough ratio only after a subsequent wait. So in this way, we have learned the basics of processor management. In the next session, we will come up with the theory of storage management. So till then, do like and subscribe my channel and share my videos as much as possible. Thanks for watching.